Welcome to Tiny Tina Wonderlands Best Build, a series where I showcase the best build for each classes, so you know how to build your character to their best potential, as well as knowing which gear or skill you should be looking out for. Through this series, I hope that you get a better understanding of how the Wonderlands endgame scene is going on, or at least this series can aid you in the endgame adventure, so that you will have a better time grinding 100 chaos level. Yeah. One thing to note is that for this type of video, I will not go as in depth into a build as your regular build video would be. I will just go through very briefly and talk about the overview of each build. But if you want to find out more about certain build, I recommend you checking out the Wonderlands endgame build doc made by the Discord community, since most of the build I showcase here is taken from there. Also, I will not include any Buffmeister or Pixie build because they are good, but they are too good and make the gameplay very boring, and every build is kind of the same if we are using them, so I will try to avoid that. And for the second episode, we have Stabbomancer. Stabbomancer is designed as this jack of all trades class. It has skills that buff, spell, guard, melee, and dot, so you will see a diverse range of build archetypes for this class. Hence, this is, in my opinion, one of the best classes in Tiny Tina Wonderlands. So let's get in. For number 4, we have Ghostblade, made by Mr. Viper, Quark, and Rune. This Stabbomancer build is all about Ghostblade damage. Our primary source of damage are our melee attacks, and the dot damage ensuing from alchemical agents. This build is pretty safe in terms of survivability because most of the time you will be using the Stabbomancer action skill Ghostblade to kill enemy from afar. This build is quite easy to build up, but to make it consistent, it requires a little bit more gear. What does this mean is that you need to find rings that has enough melee critical hit chance in order to get to 100%, because Ghostblade will need that in order to proc alchemical agent. Now, there are a lot of versions of this Ghostblade build. There are a black color version, a Blood of the Fallen version, which uses Berserker as second class. This version has the most Ghostblade uptime because we are using Blood of the Fallen. There are also Clawbringer version, another Berserker version that actually can reach the peak damage for Ghostblade, but it does require a lot of gear in order to pull it off. So in general, I would recommend you using the black color version because it is the most consistent and requires the minimal gear to power up. Next up, we have another action skill based build, which is Red Green. This Stabbomancer and Berserker build were made by Quark, and is trying to maximize the Red Green damage while also dealing with one of its biggest weakness, which is its vulnerability when using the skill. So the way we are maximizing Red Green here is obviously alchemical agent, because it is the only way we can double dip the Red Green. Stuff like unarmored defense can help you feel less vulnerable while you are using Red Green. There are two variants of this build, one where you spike into Blood of the Fallen in order to get more Red Green uptime, the other where you spike into the alchemical agent in order to get more damage. And generally, I find Blood of the Fallen to be quite redundant in this build, so I would recommend you going for the alchemical agent spike. But it is up to your choice. The Blood of the Fallen option isn't too bad either. You can still do this damage, just not as consistent. Like, if you are trying to build this, I would recommend going for the alchemical agent route first, and once you have decent gear and you are confident that you will deal more damage, you can switch to Blood of the Fallen. For build number 2, we have Blender by Lazy Data. This is another Berserker Stabbomancer build, but instead of trying to focus on any action skill, we are just trying to be an absurdly high DPS melee build. From my playing experience and from the feedback of the community, this is factually the best melee build in the game. If you want to do melee, this is the way to go. So to explain this further, this is just great formulas and double dip. It is quite simple, but the important thing lies in the gear choice. The melee weapons you would want for this build are sword and battery. That is the best one, but if you don't have it because you don't have the DLC, you can also choose the Wailing Banshee or my personal favorite, the Goblin Pickaxe. So 3 weapons has some of the highest DPS, and the sword and battery doubled it by itself. So this is just insane. It can one shot a lot of bosses. Now there are 2 versions of this build. One where we spec into Executioner Blade so that we can get more reach into the enemy who aren't melee friendly. The other version is just maximize melee damage and doesn't spec into Executioner Blade. In my opinion, if you are trying to build up to this build, I would recommend you going for the first one where we don't spec Executioner Blade. Once you have enough damage and enough gear, then you can switch to the Executioner Blade spec. Honorable mention. In today's honorable mention section, we have Boris by Escherun, Quark, and Shen. This Stabbomancer Greyborn build is the optimal setup for using this Stabbomancer because we are combining companion count with a lot of skill such as Faithful Trust and the Brutal Stampede armor. Now this build can put out a lot of damage. It's pretty impressive from what I have played through, but the reason why I put it here is because the gear choice is quite specific. For this build, you really need to have the Brutal Stampede with gun damage in order to buff the Stabbomancer gun card. Now Brutal Stampede is just a pain in the ass to farm, but still, if you want to pursue this build, you will still have a lot of fun. If you have played BL3 and use the Fire Puncher, this is exactly the same. Finally, the strongest Stabbomancer build in my opinion is the Rotti by Stoneswan and Escherun. This black color and Stabbomancer build is centered around doing dot damage or damage over time. There is one interaction from this build that can create infinite damage, which is the Barbarload and Spirit Swarm. I have explained it further in another video. You can check it out if you want to find out about this infinite damage interaction. But generally, this is just a really good dot build and is an optimal setup for any damage over time stuff. Now there are another version of this where we focus a lot more on gun and guys in the shell spamming. You can try that version too, but that version doesn't spec into contagion. So for my playing experience, it isn't that like strong at crowd controlling. So I would recommend you going for the general mainstream version where we have to point into contagion. But with Spear Swarm, it's hard to go wrong. And building up to this is quite easy, and you can deal an insane amount of damage. This is the most damage you can deal in any landscape, technically, because it is infinite. So that's why I put it in top 1. It is undeniably the best build in Tiny Tina Wonderlands for any characters. So that is it for Stabbomancer best builds. I hope you find this video useful, and if you do, remember to leave a like, share the video, and if there are any better Stabbomancer builds that you can come up, remember to comment down below. I do read them a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and join the Discord server if you want to talk to me or have the discussion about the game. See you next time.